Have you ever noticed how the most excited person in the room is often the one who never sees anything through? They light up talking about their novel, their startup, their certification course, their creative project. Their enthusiasm is intoxicating. You believe in them. They believe in themselves. And then, nothing. The project gets abandoned. The course gets half finished. The novel never makes it past chapter 3. There's something strange about this pattern. These aren't lazy people. They are not lacking ideas or intelligence or passion. If anything, they have too much of all three. They start with fire, with genuine intention, with detailed plans. And yet, somewhere between beginning and completion, something inside them shuts down. What's really happening in the mind of someone who never finishes what they start? And why does starting feel so different from finishing? The surface pattern. You know the cycle intimately if you live it. You get an idea, brilliant, exciting, yours. Your mind races with possibilities. You can see the finished product so clearly it feels real. You tell people about it. You buy the supplies, sign up for the class, create the folder, download the app. Those first few days are euphoric. You are making progress. You are actually doing it. This time is different. But then something shifts. The initial excitement fades. The work gets harder. It's no longer about the thrilling vision, it's about the tedious middle, the part where you are not good yet, where you have to push through resistance. And quietly, without announcement, you stop. Maybe you tell yourself you'll get back to it. Maybe you start something new instead. Maybe you feel a wave of shame and quickly bury it under distraction. From the outside, it looks like a discipline problem, a focus problem, a commitment problem. But here's the thing, it's none of those things. At least, not in the way people think. The dopamine dance. Let's talk about what's actually happening in your brain when you start something new. When you conceive of a project, when you imagine yourself completing it, your brain releases dopamine, the anticipation neurotransmitter. Not the reward chemical, as it's often misunderstood, but the anticipation chemical. Your brain gets a hit of dopamine from imagining the finished product, from planning it, from talking about it, from buying the materials or setting up the workspace. Starting gives you a neurochemical reward before you've actually done anything. And this is where it gets complex. Because once you are in the middle of the actual work, that dopamine fades. You are no longer anticipating, you are doing. And doing is hard. It's messy. It requires tolerance for imperfection, for the gap between your vision and your current ability. Here's what's really happening. Your brain got the reward it was seeking just from starting. The follow-through requires a completely different psychological skill set, one that has nothing to do with excitement and everything to do with tolerance for discomfort. But the psychology behind this runs deeper than neurotransmitters. The identity protection mechanism. There's a paradox at the heart of chronic non-finishing, and it's one that most people never recognize. The projects you abandon? They are often tied to who you want to be. Writing that novel means you are a writer. Building that business means you are an entrepreneur. Learning that language means you are worldly, dedicated, capable of transformation. But here's what's fascinating. As long as you don't finish, you never have to find out if you are actually good at it. An unfinished novel can still be brilliant in your mind. An abandoned business idea never has to face the market. A half-completed course never has to be tested. The potential remains infinite. Your identity remains protected. Because finishing means facing judgment. Finishing means discovering whether the vision in your head can actually manifest in reality. And for many people, the fear of that discovery is unbearable. There's a term in psychology called self-handicapping, the tendency to create obstacles for yourself to protect your self-esteem. If you don't finish, you never have to confront the possibility that you might not be as talented, creative, or capable as you believe. The story you tell yourself becomes, I could have been great if I'd just followed through. Not, I followed through and it wasn't what I hoped. One story leaves room for your idealized self. The other requires you to meet reality. The perfectionism trap. Let me paint you a picture. You are 3 chapters into your book. You read back what you've written and it's fine. Not brilliant. Not terrible. Just fine. But fine feels like failure when you've been imagining a masterpiece. So you don't write chapter 4. You tell yourself you need to rethink the structure, or do more research, or wait for inspiration. What you are really doing is protecting yourself from producing something mediocre. This is perfectionism, but not the kind that drives people to excellence. This is perfectionism as paralysis. Perfectionism as protection. Perfectionism as the reason you never have to risk being average. Research on perfectionism distinguishes between adaptive and maladaptive forms. Adaptive perfectionists set high standards and feel satisfaction from working toward them. Maladaptive perfectionists set impossible standards and feel only shame when they can't meet them. They'd rather not try than try and fall short. And this is where it gets interesting. Maladaptive perfectionism often stems from conditional self-worth. Your value as a person got tied, somewhere in your development, to your achievements, to being special, to standing out. So anything less than exceptional feels like proof that you are worthless. Starting a project is safe because you haven't failed yet. You haven't produced anything mediocre yet. Finishing requires you to release something imperfect into the world. It requires you to be seen as you actually are, not as you imagine you could be. The truth is, you are not actually afraid of failure. You are afraid of being ordinary. The attention economy. But there's another layer here, one that's harder to see because it's woven into the fabric of modern life. You live in an environment engineered to fragment your attention. Every app on your phone, every algorithm, every notification, they are all designed to give you quick hits of novelty, to keep you scrolling, switching, seeking the next stimulating thing. Your brain has been trained on an intermittent reward schedule more powerful than anything in nature. Variable rewards. Sometimes you get something interesting when you check your phone, sometimes you don't. Create the strongest conditioning possible. This is the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. So when you sit down to work on your project and it requires sustained attention, deep focus, delayed gratification, your brain rebels. It's been conditioned for novelty, for constant stimulation, for immediate feedback. The slow, grinding work of completion can't compete. Starting something new provides novelty. Finishing something requires persistence. And your attentional system has been systematically trained to choose novelty every single time. This isn't a moral failing. It's a predictable response to your environment. But understanding it doesn't make it less destructive to your goals. The shame spiral. Let's talk about what happens emotionally when you don't finish things. At first, there's relief. You've escaped the discomfort of the work, the risk of judgment, the confrontation with your limitations. But beneath that relief, there's something else growing. Shame. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. And when you repeatedly start things and don't finish them, shame begins to build. It whispers that you are unreliable, undisciplined, all talk and no action, a fraud. This shame becomes its own barrier to completion. Because now when you think about returning to that abandoned project, you don't just face the work itself, you face the accumulated shame of having abandoned it. The project becomes a mirror reflecting back your perceived failures. So you avoid it even more. And here's the cruel irony. The more projects you abandon, the more evidence you create that you are the kind of person who doesn't finish things. This becomes part of your identity. And once something is part of your identity, you unconsciously act in ways that confirm it. Psychologists call this the self-concept maintenance mechanism. You behave in ways consistent with your self-concept, even when that self-concept is negative, because consistency feels safer than change. The devil you know feels more manageable than the uncertainty of transformation. So the pattern perpetuates. You start, you stop, you feel shame, you avoid, you start something new to escape the shame of the old, and the cycle continues. The attachment dimension. But the truth is, the roots of this pattern often go deeper than habits or brain chemistry. They reach back into your earliest experiences of consistency, follow-through, and completion. Attachment theory tells us that our early relationships shape how we approach challenges and goals. If your caregivers were inconsistent, sometimes present, sometimes not, sometimes supportive, sometimes critical, you may have learned that sustained effort doesn't lead to predictable outcomes. You learned to be excited about beginnings but skeptical about endings. Or perhaps you were praised lavishly for your potential but not taught how to tolerate frustration, boredom, or imperfection. You learned that your value came from being naturally gifted, not from working through difficulty. So when work gets hard, you unconsciously interpret it as evidence that you are not good enough, rather than as a normal part of the learning process. Maybe you had a parent who started many things and never finished them. You learned by observation that this is just how life works. Enthusiasm is acceptable, completion is optional. Or maybe, and this is painful to consider, finishing things was never safe in your family. Maybe when you succeeded, a parent felt threatened or competitive. Maybe your achievements were minimized or ignored. Maybe you learned, unconsciously, that it's safer to remain in potential than to actualize it. These aren't excuses, but they are explanations. And understanding where your patterns come from can help you develop compassion for yourself rather than just piling on more shame. The cost of incompletion. Let me be direct with you about something. Every unfinished project carries a psychological weight. It sits in your mental space like an unclosed browser tab, consuming energy even when you are not consciously thinking about it. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik discovered what's now called the Zeigarnik effect, the mind's tendency to maintain cognitive tension around incomplete tasks. Unfinished projects create a persistent, low-level anxiety. They whisper at you. They remind you of what you are not doing. They accumulate into a background noise of failure that affects how you see yourself. But here's what's more insidious. The pattern of not finishing trains you to distrust yourself. When you tell yourself you'll do something and then don't, you learn that your word to yourself means nothing. Your internal promises become meaningless. Your relationship with yourself, the most important relationship you have, becomes one of broken trust. This erodes your sense of agency. If you can't trust yourself to follow through, how can you trust yourself with anything that matters? So you stay small. You keep your dreams vague and your commitments loose. You protect yourself from disappointment by never fully trying. And maybe the saddest part is this: you never get to discover what you are actually capable of. Not what you imagine you could be in some fantasy future, but what you could build with your actual hands, in actual time, through actual sustained effort. You never get to meet the version of yourself that pushes through difficulty and emerges on the other side. You stay in the realm of potential, where everything is possible and nothing is real. The path forward. So what do you do if you see yourself in this pattern? How do you break a cycle that feels so deeply ingrained? First, you need to understand that finishing things is a skill, not a character trait. It's not something you either have or don't have. It's something you can learn. But like any skill, it requires practice, and practice means accepting imperfect attempts. Start smaller than you think you need to. Not small like, write a short story instead of a novel. Small like, write for 10 minutes. The goal isn't the output. The goal is teaching yourself that you can commit to something and follow through. You are rebuilding trust with yourself, and trust is built through consistent small actions, not grand gestures. Second, separate the dopamine of starting from the satisfaction of completing. Notice how you feel when you get an idea. Notice the rush, the excitement, the way your mind races with possibilities. Then, pause. Don't act immediately. Let yourself sit with the idea for a few days. If it still matters after the initial dopamine fade, then it might be worth pursuing. And when you do start something, be ruthlessly honest about your motivation. Are you starting because you want the feeling of starting? Or because you are genuinely committed to the outcome? There's a difference between wanting to be a writer and wanting to write. Between wanting to have a business and wanting to do the work of building one. Third, make peace with mediocrity. I mean that seriously. Give yourself permission to create something mediocre. To finish something that's just okay. Because an okay thing that exists is infinitely more valuable than a brilliant thing that doesn't. The gap between your taste and your ability, that's where growth happens. But you only close that gap by producing work, not by imagining work. You have to be willing to make bad art, write bad sentences, build clunky prototypes. That's not failure. That's the process. And this is where it gets interesting. The moment you release yourself from the pressure of perfection, finishing becomes possible. Because you are no longer protecting an idealized identity. You are just doing the work. The deeper truth. But here's what I really want you to hear. The reason you don't finish things isn't because you are broken or lazy or lacking in some fundamental way. It's because you are afraid. And that fear makes sense. You are afraid of being ordinary when you've been told you are special. You are afraid of judgment when you've learned your worth is conditional. You are afraid of proving the cruel voice in your head right, the one that says you are all potential and no substance. These fears are real. They are valid. And they are also keeping you trapped in a half-life where nothing you dream of ever becomes real. The projects you abandon aren't just tasks uncompleted. They are alternate versions of your life you never get to live. They are skills you never develop, confidence you never build, proof you never give yourself that you are capable of hard things. Every time you start something and don't finish it, you reinforce the belief that you can't be trusted. Every time you push through and complete something, Even if it's imperfect, even if no one else sees it, even if it's small, you prove that belief wrong. Maybe that's the real work. Not finishing the novel or the business or the project, but finishing the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. Because here's the truth that no one talks about. You don't need to finish everything. You don't need to be productive all the time. You don't need to prove your worth through accomplishments. But you do need to trust yourself. And you can't build self-trust without follow-through. Closing. So maybe the question isn't, why don't I finish things? Maybe the question is, what am I protecting by not finishing? Is it an identity that feels safer in potential than reality? Is it a fragile self-esteem that can't tolerate being average? Is it a fear of discovering you are not who you imagined? Whatever it is, I want you to know this: you are more than your unfinished projects. Your worth isn't determined by your productivity or your achievements or your ability to see things through. But the life you want, the one where you trust yourself, where you create things that matter to you, where you prove to yourself that you are capable of hard things, that life exists on the other side of completion. Not perfect completion. Not impressive completion. Just completion. One project. One commitment. One promise to yourself that you keep. That's where it starts. Not with a grand vision or a perfect plan or the right motivation. It starts with finishing something small. And then another. And then another. Until the person who never finishes things becomes, slowly, quietly, the person who does. And maybe that transformation, from potential to reality, from dreaming to doing, from starting to finishing, maybe that's the real project all along.